Ethiopians have begun voting in general elections that are seen as the first major test to Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his ruling coalition. The elections were scheduled to take place last year, but the government says that they were delayed by the pandemic. The coronavirus isn't the only challenge that Abiy Ahmed is facing. The vote comes as war rages in the northern Tigray region, in turn triggering a famine that threatens hundreds of thousands of people. Opposition groups have accused Ethiopia's ruling party of harassment, but the prime minister has promised the election will be peaceful.
When Abiy Ahmed came to power, he was lauded as a reformer, lifting bans on opposition parties and freeing thousands of political prisoners. His efforts to end hostilities in the region also saw him awarded a Nobel Peace Prize. But Abiy Ahmed is facing mounting pressure, both at home and abroad. Ethiopia's international partners want a quick end to the ongoing conflict in the Tigray region. Fighting there between the region's former ruling party, the Tigray's People Liberation Front, and both government and Eritrean troops has cost untold thousands of lives and spread famine throughout the region. UN figures say over 350,000 people here are facing acute hunger. That includes tens of thousands of children. Monday's polling has been twice delayed due to the pandemic. And logistical challenges still remain. Many opposition parties are also boycotting the election because leading members have been jailed. They accuse the government of rolling back many of Abiy Ahmed's initial reforms. Hardly an auspicious backdrop for the first major test of the Prime Minister's Prosperity Party. But in the run-up to the vote, Mr. Ahmed remained confident, saying the polling would be his country's first attempt at truly free and fair elections.
And for more on this, let's bring in Dr. Adem Abebe, who is from the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance in The Hague. Welcome to the program, and thank you so much for joining us. As we have heard, Abiy Ahmed has described this vote as the nation's first attempt at free and fair elections. To what extent is that true?
Well, so if you compare with past elections, it's definitely better. We had very good election in 2005. Unfortunately, a day after the elections, things turned ugly, and there was a lot of violence, and oppressive tactics became more pervasive. At the same time, there's really no illusion that the elections they leave a lot to be desired. In particular, as you noted in the statements, the Tigray region is in conflict, and a large part of the country, particularly Oromia, there will not be critical opposition parties, which means that the elections will not represent the political dividing lines, the popular sentiment in that particular region. But overall, I think, given the context, the elections can be seen as a good beginning.
As a good beginning under very difficult circumstances, however, and I'd like to turn to some of those circumstances because there has been this brutal war waging in Ethiopia's Tigray region for the past 8 months. The UN Human Rights Chief is actually saying that she is, quote, deeply disturbed by continued reports of rights violations, also intercommunal violence in other areas of the country. How much is left of Abiy Ahmed's image as a reformer and a peacemaker? I mean, he was supposed to be a break from authoritarian governments that preceded him.
No, you're right. I think what is happening in Tigray is a tragedy. At the same time, we should not create the confusion that it is connected with these particular elections. In fact, the origins of it they are connected to what happened in August 2020, when elections had to be postponed, and some of the contestation over the elections contributed to the confrontation. But this election is happening in a context, indeed, where there is conflict. But I think from the government side, you cannot leave an entire country without an election simply because there are tragedies occurring in parts of the country.
But it's more, what I want to ask you, separate from the election, is just about Abiy Ahmed's image in general. Because, I mean, when you have the UN, leveling these accusations, some of them against government troops, we have to say, and we're talking, here about execution of civilians, sexual violence against children, forced displacement. I mean, these are the reports that are coming out of the region. What has that done to Abiy Ahmed's image as a peacemaker? It's in shreds, isn't it?
Absolutely. Obviously, particularly at the international level in the West, his reputation has suffered for what is happening in Tigray, but also large parts of the country. At the same time, I think we should not blame him alone for what is happening, even in Tigray. The origins of the conflict are complex. Obviously, as you said, there's some very, very serious allegations, and the government must conduct investigations to sort them out. But what I was trying to say is that these allegations are not necessarily connected with the elections. But you are absolutely right that internationally his reputation has suffered and suffered significantly. And even domestically, there's a lot of anger at what they see is a prevailing insecurity, and not just in Tigray, but across the country.
Just very briefly, only 20 seconds here. How do you think his Prosperity Party will do?
Well, I think there's no question that they're going to win. And partly this is because of what I said at the beginning. The two regions where he would have faced the largest opposition, and Tigray is in conflict. And in Oromia, because the main opposition parties have boycotted, the outcomes will not be representative of the popular sentiment. So the key is what is going to be done to ensure that the political process, particularly in Oromia, would somehow would be seen as reflecting the political sentiment would be reflected in the political dispensation.
Dr. Adam Abebe joining us from the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance in The Hague, breaking down everything that is at stake at these key elections in Ethiopia. Thank you so much for your insight.